We're live. Hey guys, welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. As you know, this is a place where we examine everything under the microscope of logic to ascertain what is most factual and logically consistent. So, Elon Musk. Let's talk about Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been on the news of late with all the things he's been doing, with him trying to essentially wreck the United States government with all the cuts and all the firings and all the mayhem that he's been causing, right? And so he went to one of his safe spaces, one of his favorite safe spaces, which is essentially Fox News. He went to Sean Hannity on Fox News to have a conversation on those astronauts that have just been returned back to Earth, where he's claimed responsibility for that. He's claimed, and Sean was just fussing over him, how he's such a great person, how he's going to save this, he's going to save America, and so on and so forth. And then the conversation came around to Tesla, what's happening to Tesla with the stock price of Tesla just tumbling with the protest against Tesla, with all the violence and all the mayhem that's gone on against Tesla. And Elon Musk essentially said that he did not understand why people were not being empathetic to him, where people were not being empathetic to his company, saying that he hasn't done anything wrong, he hasn't done anything bad, and everything he's done, he's tried to be productive. Now, this is very weird considering the fact that I think a couple of days ago he went on Joe Rogan to basically say that empathy was a weakness of the West, and he tried to explain why he thinks empathy is a weakness of the West. So let's just look at Sean Hannity's conversation with Elon Musk, and we'll look at what he said to Joe Rogan to see if there's any connect or if there's any disconnect between both things. So he's essentially begging for what? He's essentially begging for empathy for Tesla. When he himself said that empathy was overrated, empathy was a weakness to the West that people are exploiting. Let's go.
I have to ask, why? Why do I see people like I woke up this morning and saw that Teslas were put ablaze in one of your dealerships in Vegas? I've seen this happen all over the country. Bullets are being fired, charging stations are put ablaze, Teslas are being put ablaze. You have experienced assassination, threats of assassination for you and your family. What have you done that warrants this? Because I see nothing that you have done except help our country.
You have to be in very massive bubble, or you have to be deceiving yourself to ask this very stupid question, for which the answer is very obvious. What have you done? I mean, what has Elon Musk done from since the beginning of what has he done since the beginning of this whole administration? Crazy things that he's been doing, right? So how can you ask him what have you done? He's fired people. He's disrupted government agencies. He's basically used the president as his mouthpiece for pushing his products, for advertising his product. He's being disruptive. He's insulting leaders of other countries. He's giving Nazi salutes. He's going on supporting far right parties in Germany. He's putting his hands in everything. His son basically sat there at the White House, or stood there beside Trump at the White House, and told Donald Trump that he wasn't the president, that he had to go away. From whom the son heard those things, no one can actually tell. So for Hannity to be asking this question, what have you done? You have to you have to be so delusional as to ask that question, what have you done? Have they seen the protests that have been going on of late? Have they seen the protests that are going on, and you're asking, what have you done? It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's really come as a shock to me that there's this level of really hatred and violence from the left. I always thought the left, or Democrats, were supposed to be the party of empathy, the party of caring, and yet they're burning down cars, they're firebombing dealerships, they're firing bullets into dealerships, they're just smashing up Teslas. Tesla is a peaceful company. We've never done anything harmful.
So this is where I think I have to show his conversation with Joe Rogan, talking about empathy, right? So what did Elon Musk say about empathy? He said that Democrats are supposed to be the party of empathy, and they're not being empathetic right now. But why should they be? If empathy is a weakness, why should they be empathetic to you? Why are you all of a sudden looking for empathy for your company? Why are you suddenly being so concerned about empathy?
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. the empathy exploit. They're exploiting a bug in Western civilization, which is the empathy response. So, and I think empathy is good, but you need to think it through and not just be programmed like a robot.
But those things are fundamentally contradictory, right? Okay, let's even assume that I get what he's trying to say with this empathy thing, that if you're too empathetic, that people will take advantage of you. Yeah, that can happen. But empathy doesn't mean that you're a pushover, doesn't mean that you're some people are just going to roll over you, walk all over you, right? Empathy means you're recognizing, understanding that the challenges that other people have, and you try to step in to help them. And far from being a fundamental weakness of the West, I think it's a strength. I think that's why the West is progressive, because it's empathetic. It's trying to take care of everyone, which is the opposite of what Elon Musk is trying to do. Elon Musk is trying to, dismantle systems that are supposed to help people like veterans, people in low income people who need medical assistance. That's what Elon Musk is doing. He's trying to roll back all those things. So you cannot champion for a um, a season of empathy and then wonder why nobody's being empathetic towards you or your company. And the reasons why nobody's been empathetic towards you and your company is very, very obvious because of the things that you're doing. I mean, no one protested Tesla before all this. No one protested you. You were kind of the weird but cool CEO that many people liked across the political spectrum, but you decided to become this figure, to become this very toxic person. And people are going to take out their frustrations on someone who they think is causing them harm. I mean, the people that you fired, you say you haven't done anything wrong. The people that you fired, what exactly did you think was going to happen to them? You think that they were just ones and zeros? You think that they didn't have lives? You think that they don't, if you fire them, how are they going to take care of their families? How are they going to take care of their bills, right? So they're not just ones and zeros. They are real human beings with real lives, and you're just destroying all those things. And you're asking why? Because this is where they can hurt you. This is where they can get back at you with your company, since most of your wealth is tied up in the valuation of your company. If they're going to target that to get back at you, they're going to do that.
I've never done anything awful. I've only done productive things. So I think we just have a deranged. There's some kind of mental illness thing going on here, because this doesn't make any sense.
Now, this is rich coming from Elon Musk, the man who is literally deranged, who is literally doing things that don't make any sense, who has made like a total complete 180 from the semi-reasonable positions that they used to have. This is a man who's just busy spreading anti-Semitic theories. There's a man who is, boosting every right-wing nut job that you have on X. This is a man who is just interfering in the elections, interfering in the politics of almost every country in the world. And he's saying this doesn't make sense. He's saying they are deranged. He is the one who's deranged. And he's accusing other people of being deranged. See, if lack of self-awareness were a human being, it would be Elon Musk, because he doesn't have any self-awareness to see that what he's doing. He doesn't understand why people are reacting to him this way, when they're supposed to embrace him with the sort of mayhem. So those people that he's cut their jobs, those people that he's disrupted their lives, are they supposed to be grateful to him for what he's done? This is crazy.
Yeah,
And I think there are larger forces at work as well. I mean,
Now
I don't know
another
who's funding it,
conspiracy
who's
theory.
coordinating it.
The,
Because
the thing with these guys, with Elon Musk and Donald Trump, is that they never take responsibility for anything. I mean, you are literally the one in power. Elon Musk is, for all intents and purposes, the president of the United States at this point. Yet he still feels there is a power bigger or greater than him, not a heavenly power, a human power, sort of that are shaping these things. How much of an idiot you have to be president, and still you don't have control of things? There are still forces that you cannot control within the country. That's because that's essentially what he's saying. Either Trump or himself they do not have control over the country that they are ruling, because there are certain powers that are still fighting the president. But that's not the case. Every arm of government has basically capitulated to Donald Trump, except maybe the judiciary is just trying to put up a fight. But the legislature, they're gone. They're gone. Trump has taken over everything. Trump is defying court orders. He's doing unconstitutional things. So with that sort of situation, you come out and then you say, there are certain powers, there are people who are against you. This is just ordinary human beings. This is just ordinary Americans reacting to someone. This is like an immune response, right? They're trying to kick out that foreign body, which is you, and he is a foreign body anyway.
This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
You actually tweeted out, and I'll put it on the screen, the level of violence is insane. It is deeply wrong. Tesla just makes electric cars and has done nothing to deserve these evil attacks.
Now, Tesla makes electric cars. Tesla may not have done anything to deserve these attacks, but the front and face of Tesla has done things that justifies, in certain sense, these attacks. Elon Musk is the mouthpiece. He is the personification of Tesla, and he's doing terrible things. So people, the way he has made, he has grown the brand with just his personal branding and what have you. He's grown Tesla with his personal branding. Anything that happens to his personal, his perception, the perception of him as a person is going to definitely affect the brand. So you are the one that has caused the situation where you've tied yourself to the brand, and whatever you do is going to affect that brand perception and image. And right now, you're not very popular because of the things that you're doing. So you'd expect something like this to happen. How could you not think that something like this will happen? How this is supposed to be a genius, and he didn't see that something like this was going to happen? Come on.
You just rescued 2 astronauts that have been in space for 286 days.
Yeah, he rescued them himself. He went up to space and rescued them himself. The amount of,
supposed to be there 8. You help the people in North Carolina, Tennessee, California. You have, I think, the most creative and innovative car on the market. You created Starlink for
now. That's just crazy piece of propaganda. He doesn't have the most creative market, a car electric vehicle in the market, not even close to what China is doing. Have you seen the Chinese EVs? They're miles ahead of what Tesla could even dream of. They are miles ahead, right? Even electric vehicles, other electric vehicles in the US, right? I watched a video about a NASA engineer who did a comparison between the functionalities of Tesla in terms of safety versus other EVs, and there was no contest. Tesla was way back, right? If China's BYD has just revealed that they have electric vehicles that you can charge in 5 minutes, 5 minutes, as small as 5 minutes. So this idea that saying that Elon Musk has the best in the market, maybe to the American market, but even that is debatable because other vehicles in the American market do better, right? So in the global scheme of things, China's EV is way better, but Americans cannot have access to that because of the tariffs that are placed on it. So other parts of the world have the luxury, have the benefits of enjoying affordable Chinese EVs of superior quality, but Americans have to pay so much more for shitty things that Elon Musk brings out, like the Cybertruck that's had so many problems from from it not functioning under the rain, to rusting, to the edges being so sharp that they can literally take off people's fingers, the bolts closing on people's fingers. Just so many problems. How can you see all that and then say this guy has the best EVs in the market?
Communications that's used by hundreds of countries. You're working on helping the blind see and all of these other things. Is it really come down to the basic, you're aligned with President Donald Trump, who also is a friend of mine, and that you have identified well over $100 billion in waste, fraud, abuse that our federal government never should have been spending? Is that what it comes down to?
No. So this is another piece of propaganda that he's discovered fraud and so on and so forth. I'm going to show you a very short video, where the New York Times gave a breakdown of what Trump has purportedly done so far, and it's a far cry from what he's claiming. It's not even close to what he's claiming. So let me just share that. It gives an excellent breakdown of his so-called savings that he's done with the Doge thing, which is just so wishy-washy, right? So let's go. Oh, where is it? Okay, yeah, this is it. So yeah, let's go.
Over the last few weeks, we've been reporting on errors in the so-called wall of receipts. This is a website that Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has set up in the name of transparency to show how it saved American taxpayers money. How did Musk and his team respond after we found those errors? By making their work less transparent and making their errors harder to find. But we found them anyway. Doge has added a new section to its website. This one deals with federal grants. They posted 3,500 new federal grants that they said they'd canceled and saved $10 billion in the process. But they only included minimal information about each one of these grants, like the agency that made the grant and the amount of money they claimed they had saved. They didn't include other details that would allow a reporter like me or anybody else to track down which grant they were talking about and to figure out if the claim Doge was making is actually true. But they left identifying information for each one of these grants embedded in the code of Doge's website. This long string of numbers is a unique award ID that identifies each grant within the federal government's bureaucracy. And what we discovered was basically the same kind of error they had been making before. There were 5 of those errors, and just the top 20 largest savings they were claiming. Those errors started with the largest item on the list. Doge said it had saved $1.75 billion by cutting a contract to a public health nonprofit. We talked to that nonprofit. They said Doge's data was wrong twice over. First, they said the contract had not been canceled. Second, they said that even if it had been canceled, all the money that the government owed them had already been paid. So the savings achieved by terminating this contract would be 0. In other cases, Musk's group seemed to have misunderstood a fundamental part of government contracting. They said they'd saved $83 million by cutting a grant from USAID to a nonprofit called Engender Health. What that group told us was that Doge had been looking at something called a ceiling value, basically an upper limit on what the government could ever possibly spend. Instead, they'd been given a much smaller number, $1.2 million, of which they'd already received about $500,000. So the savings achieved by cutting that grant, they said, was not $83 million, but something much smaller, about $700,000. The next 3 errors all seem to involve a similar misunderstanding. A couple of days after Doge posted those hidden clues that helped us find the reality of these grants, they removed them. A White House official told us that the identifying information was removed for security purposes. This new secrecy from Doge appears to contradict what Elon Musk has said in interviews. He recently said that Doge was transparent
line by line.
It's transparent line by line.
Which is quite remarkable.
We're going to continue trying to fact check those claims, but Doge has just made our work much, much harder. Over the last...
Yeah, so there you have it. There you have a breakdown of the things that he's claimed to have saved, which doesn't make any sense anyway. He hasn't saved much. How if he's going to cut trillions of dollars in U.S. government spending, saving one million here, 1.2 million there, how is that ever going to get to $1 trillion? At this pace, it might take Elon Musk maybe another 20 years for him to get up to $1 trillion. So this is just hogwash. And this might even be costing the American people much more. It might be costing U.S. Taxpayers more to just disrupt the system like this. Right? There are certain things that are supposed to function. This man talks about waste in government. Elon Musk has been the most wasteful person that you can ever think of. Didn't he just blow up another rocket? All the rockets he's been blowing up, what have they achieved? He hasn't sent anything to Mars. He hasn't sent anything to the moon. But he's been subsidized by the US government to produce these rockets, and he's blowing them up. Billions of dollars just go to waste. Just go. He hasn't been able to prove any fraud. You're canceling contracts. Does that mean those contracts were fraudulent in the first place? He hasn't been able to prove any fraud. Not one fraud. Wasn't that the mandate to look for fraud? No one has been prosecuted for fraud. He's just canceling contracts. Yeah, these contracts were there, right? But it doesn't mean they were fraudulent. This guy is just...
Yeah, it turns out when you take away people's, what the money they're receiving fraudulently, they get very upset, and they basically want to kill me because I'm stopping their fraud, and they want to hurt Tesla because we're stopping this terrible waste and corruption in the government. And,
yeah, but you haven't shown anything, right? You haven't shown anything. Are we supposed to just take your word for it?
Well, I guess they're bad people. bad people will do bad things.
Well, I know that overall, you know, financially, in the end, yes, they can hurt you, but the people that they'll end up hurting are the people that work in your dealerships that may risk losing their job. The people that they may end
Yeah.
up hurting are the people that work on the line and build the Teslas.
So what about the people that you've unjustly fired? What's going to happen to them and their families? They don't have responsibilities. They're just ones and zeros. They're not human beings. You're thinking about your employees now. You're thinking in terms of what's going to happen to your employees if your company goes under. But you're not thinking what's going to happen to the families of the people the thousands of people that you fired for no cause, for no reason, the lives that you've disrupted. You're not thinking about that. So this is just incredibly selfish. And these people are not empathetic. They are only using this rhetorical tactic to make it seem like, oh, lives are going to be impacted. The lives of Tesla workers are going to be impacted. They are essentially trying to emotionally blackmail Americans into wanting to side with them, while at the same time, the veterans that Elon Musk basically talked shit about and is cutting their packages and all that, the human beings too. What's going to happen to them? Do you think about that?
They're going to be the ones
Absolutely.
hurt. And that to me is despicable on their part, just because they might have a
really
political
is.
difference or perceived political difference. Let me ask you this, because I think this is pretty important. You know, the average American makes $66,000 a year. We're close to $40,000 in debt. You said to me in our last interview, we won't have a country unless we fix it now. Can you
Yes.
explain why this is so important that we identify all this waste?
So I think that it's a valid point to say that country should not be spending more than it's earning, right? It's not sensible policies for you to be spending more than you're earning. But from what I've seen, the largest expenditure for the US government is Medicaid and the defense budgets or something like that. All of those are not really that. You're not going to get any so much traction with trying to cut all that. So, has anybody looked into that? And if you want to cut Medicaid, what's going to be the reaction of Americans? What's going to be the reaction of millions of people who rely on it for health insurance? I guess. Is the US ready to cut down on its close to 1,000 military bases that it has all over the world? Is it ready to cut down on defense spending to be able to get that reduction in to get that deficit under control? Is it really ready to do all that, or you're going to nitpick at 100 million here and there, and you're not going to get anything? And Trump is looking at tax cuts for the wealthy. He's looking at more tax cuts for the wealthy. There was a video I saw a few days ago. Maybe I'll try and look for it and share, which talked about how quote unquote socialism actually saved the US. How the golden age of America was at a point where the tax rate was about close to 70%. Tax rate for the the top 1% was close to 70%, and the government was able to have enough money for infrastructure. People were able to average citizens were able to afford a home, afford a life on one income. It was like the golden age of American prosperity, and that was at a time where the tax rate was very high for the top 1%, right? So it does show that a very progressive tax rate can be beneficial for everybody. I do understand how billionaires don't want to pay more. Naturally, people don't want to pay more, right? But at a certain point, having wealth above a certain point doesn't marginally improve. It doesn't improve your life in any meaningful sense. Elon Musk has lost about $121 billion, and that does nothing for him. It doesn't affect him in any way. He's still the richest man. Losing $121 billion and still being the richest man, that is wild. So what what sort of satisfaction you get above a certain amount, like $1 billion? What sort of satisfaction? And that's why he's doing all these crazy things, because money doesn't move him anymore. It's power that he wants. That's what he desires. That's what will give him some sort of fulfillment at this point in time.
Yes, the government the government waste and fraud is so high that it's causing a $2 trillion annual deficit. So that's $2,000 billion of waste and fraud that's happening. And the cost of our debt has gotten so high that just the interest payments on the debt exceed the entire military budget. and it was just growing out of control. So the country was going bankrupt. It's just, a country is no different from a person. If a country overspends and doesn't spend wisely, just like a person, a country will go bankrupt. So the reason I'm here is because I'm very worried about America going bankrupt due to the corruption and waste. And if we don't do something about it, the ship of America is going to sink. And we're all on that.
No, you don't fix a sinking ship by just taking a sledgehammer to it and going to work. That's not what you do. Let's even admit that Elon Musk is right, that there's a problem with the US budgets, right? You need to get spending under control. This is not how you go about it. You don't take over an administration and immediately start without understanding the processes, without understanding what's going on. You just begin to slash here and there, fire people, disrupting processes. These things, you're supposed to do a deep analysis. You're supposed to look carefully. You're supposed to be circumspect in looking at the things that actually needs to be changed, and not just being having a knee-jerk reaction, right? Looking at policies or looking at things that you just don't like and cutting it off. That's essentially what Musk is doing. There is no pattern. There is no method to whatever is happening. It's just madness.
Ship, and this may be a message to, people out there who have, are wealthy, have a lot of means, or control companies. It's like, just remember, we're all in Ship America here. If your company is not going to exist if the Ship of America sinks, and we should do everything we possibly can to ensure that America is strong for far into the future.
And for doing that,
yeah, so that's about it. That's about it. Let me just if you want to call in, let's talk. Stanley, lead. Let's just talk for a couple of minutes on this, and then we can be on our way. But for me, I don't think that Elon Musk is adding any substantive value to the US government at this point in time. I think it's just been too disruptive. I think it's destroying things. It's not going to do anything meaningful by the end of the day. It's going to create so many enemies around the world. What Trump, the sort of foreign policy, Trump's foreign policy this time is very weird and it's very weird. How do you go about picking fights with your allies and try to placate your enemies? I mean, look at Russia. Trump is basically using kid gloves with Russia, but with Canada, with Mexico, with the European Union, he's talking tough, beating your chest for your allies and then talking very soft for your adversaries. Is that the new way of doing business with the US? And it just shows that the US is not a reliable partner economically or militarily. And in a way, it's good. It's good for the rest of the world to be able to win other countries off dependence on US dollars. I think there would be opportunities for growth if other parts of the world begin to look at the US and say, you know what, we cannot rely on the US on these things anymore, which should have happened a very long time ago. People shouldn't be so dependent on US aid. I mean, why is the US giving so much aid to almost every country in the world? Makes absolutely no sense, right? And so that's about it. Late Stanley, maybe you guys are not able to come on, but that's what I just wanted to share on this topic. So like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream. It's bye for now.